She stood at the edge of my driveway, shouting like she owned the entire street. "That Jeep belongs to my daughter," she screamed, stabbing her finger toward my vehicle. I froze for a moment, mail still clutched in my hand, trying to understand what I was hearing. "Ma'am," I said calmly, though anger trembled beneath my voice. "That's my Jeep." She didn't hesitate. She yanked out her phone and barked, "I'm calling the police right now. You're stealing my daughter's car." Minutes later, 2 patrol cars pulled up, lights flashing against the quiet houses. The officers stepped out, and she rushed toward them like she'd just caught a criminal in the act. "That man," she shouted, pointing straight at me, "he stole my daughter's Jeep. She was supposed to drive it to school today." Her daughter, a blonde teenager sitting in the passenger seat of another car nearby, looked mortified, but said nothing. One officer turned to me. "Sir, is this vehicle yours?" he asked firmly. I took a slow breath and handed him my paperwork. "Yes, officer. Registration and title both under my name." Karen's face flushed red instantly. "No, that's fake. He printed that himself," she snapped, stepping closer. I didn't flinch. "You might want to be careful with accusations like that," I said evenly, folding my arms. The second officer reviewed the documents, glanced at me, then back at her. "Ma'am," he said slowly, "this vehicle is registered to him." But she refused to stop. "You don't understand. He's lying. He scammed me," she yelled, frustration cracking her voice. The officers exchanged uncertain looks. I could feel my patience thinning, but I stayed quiet. Because what she didn't know was that I had someone very powerful on my side. And she was about to learn exactly who. "You really picked the wrong person to mess with," I muttered under my breath as her story began unraveling. Karen kept shouting even after the officers told her to calm down. "You don't know who I am. My husband's on the HOA board. We can have him removed from this neighborhood," she barked. Her voice echoed down the street, drawing neighbors to their windows. The older officer sighed, clearly irritated. "Ma'am, we've verified ownership. There's no issue here." But Karen stormed up to my Jeep anyway, slamming her hand against the hood. "Then explain why this car looks exactly like my daughter's." I raised an eyebrow. "Because it's the same model, not the same vehicle," I replied dryly. "You're welcome to check the plates." The younger officer nodded and stepped closer, comparing the license plate with the registration. Behind her mother, the daughter whispered, "Mom, please stop. This is embarrassing." Karen ignored her. "He must have cloned the plate. I've seen videos about this," she shouted, desperation creeping into her voice. The officer shot me an apologetic glance. I stayed composed. My phone buzzed. I sent one short message. "It's happening again." A few minutes later, our black sedan pulled up behind the patrol cars. Karen frowned as a well-dressed woman stepped out, flashing a badge. "State Attorney's Office," the woman said calmly. "What's going on here?" The officers immediately straightened. The attorney turned to Karen. "Ma'am, we've received multiple complaints about false reports and harassment in this area. I believe this makes your third," Karen stammered. "I was just trying to protect my daughter." The attorney glanced at me and offered a faint smile. "Good thing you called when you did," she said quietly. "We've been monitoring her for a while." Karen's voice cracked. "Wait, you know him?" I folded my arms and met her stare. "Yeah," I said slowly. "You could say we've worked together before." Her jaw dropped. For the first time, she had nothing to say. She took a step back, her confidence draining away. "This can't be real," she whispered. "You set this up. You're framing me." The attorney's eyes narrowed. "Framing you? Ma'am, we already have video evidence from 3 neighbors. You've been harassing residents, placing fake HOA notices on doors, and filing false theft reports." Karen went pale. "Those were warnings. They park where they shouldn't on their own property. You don't own these homes." The attorney cut in sharply. "And you don't make the rules." I leaned slightly closer, voice low and steady. "You really thought you could scare me like the others, didn't you?" Karen glared at me, jaw clenched. "You think you're clever, hiding behind your connections," she snapped. "You don't belong here. This neighborhood isn't for people like you." The officers exchanged uneasy looks, fully understanding what she meant. The attorney folded her arms. That attitude is exactly how people end up in serious trouble, she said coldly. From the passenger seat, the daughter finally spoke. Mom, please stop. You're making it worse. For a split second, Karen's expression softened, then her anger flared again. No, they're trying to take everything from us, she screamed, tears welling up. The attorney turned to me. We'll need a formal statement. We're already gathering evidence for charges, I nodded. Of course. I also have security footage. She came to my driveway last week, threatening to tow my Jeep. Karen froze. You recorded me? I met her eyes. Every second. The silence was heavy, broken only by the wind and the sound of her daughter quietly crying in the car. Then the radio crackled. Dispatch confirms prior incidents. Requesting clearance for arrest. Karen's lips parted. Wait, you can't arrest me. The attorney gave her a firm look. Watch us. Karen's voice shattered into a scream as an officer stepped forward. You can't do this. I was just protecting my family. The younger officer gently removed her phone. Ma'am, please turn around. The click of the cuffs echoed through the street. Her daughter covered her face. Mom, please stop, she whispered. Karen kept yelling. My husband will sue all of you. The attorney sighed. He already tried that last month. Case dismissed. She turned to me. We'll take it from here. She'll be answering questions about the fake HOA notices. I looked at Karen thrashing, furious, and felt a mix of anger and pity. You could have just asked for help, I said quietly. Instead, you tried to ruin me. Her eyes burned. You think you're untouchable. You think knowing people puts you above the rules. I shook my head. No, Karen, I follow the rules. That's why I'm not the one in cuffs. As they led her away, her daughter looked back at me through tearful eyes. I'm sorry, she said softly. She's been different since my dad lost his job. I nodded gently. It's not your fault. The attorney turned back to me. We'll contact you for deposition. And thank you for staying calm. I exhaled slowly. I've seen worse, I said quietly. I was a prosecutor before I moved here. The attorney paused. You never mentioned that. I gave a faint grin. Didn't think it mattered. Until now. Her eyebrows lifted slowly. Well, she said, almost amused. That explains a lot. Karen heard it too, sitting stiffly in the back of the patrol car. Her eyes widened as the realization finally hit her. She hadn't picked a fight with some random neighbor. She had gone after someone who used to put people like her behind bars. Karen sat frozen, face drained of color, as the truth settled in. Why, you were a prosecutor? She asked weakly through the open window. The arrogance was gone from her voice, replaced by pure disbelief. I stepped closer, leaning in just enough for her to see my face clearly. Yeah, I said quietly. State attorney's office. I handled cases just like this. People who thought the rules didn't apply to them. She stared at me, speechless. For the first time, she didn't yell, didn't threaten. She just looked lost. The patrol car door closed with a hollow thud, and the officer climbed into the driver's seat. The neighborhood, loud just minutes earlier, fell completely silent. Red and blue lights washed across nearby windows, reflecting off glass like a warning. The attorney stood beside me. You know, she said softly, it's funny how people like her think they can control everyone. Fake HOA. Fake power right up until they meet the law face to face. I nodded slightly. Power feels easy when no one pushes back. She smiled. You did the right thing calling us. You probably saved the next family from going through the same nightmare. As the patrol car rolled away, I glanced toward Karen's daughter. She still stood near the curb, arms wrapped around herself. Will she be okay? I asked quietly. The attorney followed my gaze. She's young. Maybe this will be the wake-up call her mother needed. I sighed and turned toward my Jeep, finally letting the tension drain from my shoulders. But as I reached for the handle, something caught my eye. A man stood at the corner of the street, watching everything unfold. Karen's husband. He didn't step closer, didn't speak, just stood there, his expression unreadable, part anger, part fear. The attorney noticed my stare. That's him. Yeah, I murmured. And something tells me this isn't over. The man turned and walked away slowly, disappearing behind the trees. The quiet he left behind didn't feel peaceful. It felt like the calm before another storm. The next morning, my phone buzzed nonstop. Missed calls, texts, emails, all from neighbors. When I stepped outside, I saw why. Dozens of fake HOA violation letters were taped to mailboxes all down the street. I pulled one off and read it aloud. Immediate eviction notice due to property misconduct. Signed, HOA Board. The signature at the bottom made my stomach drop. Karen's husband. A chill ran through me. He was continuing what she started. Within an hour, neighbors gathered in front of my house, clutching the same letters. Is this real? One asked nervously. Do we actually have to move? No, I said firmly. They're fake. Just like the ones Karen used. An older resident frowned. Then why does it say it's approved by the town office? That stopped me cold. If he'd forged official documents, this wasn't harassment anymore, it was a crime. I pulled out my phone and dialed the state attorney. It's happening again, I said as soon as she answered. He picked up where she left off. Send me a photo and stay put, she replied sharply. We'll handle it. Before I could hang up, a white truck rolled up beside my driveway. Karen's husband stepped out, holding a stack of those same letters. He smirked. You think you can humiliate my wife and walk away? He said. I met his stare. You're making the same mistake she did. He chuckled bitterly. Oh no, learned from her mistake. This time there's no video, no witnesses, no proof. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. By the time anyone figures it out, you'll be the one behind bars. What he didn't know was that there was proof more than he could imagine. My Jeep's dash cam had been recording since the moment he parked. I smiled faintly. You sure about that? He followed my gaze, frowned, then froze when he noticed the small red blinking light on the dash. You recorded this? He whispered. Every second. His smirk vanished. You can't use that, he snapped. That's private property. You're invading my privacy. I laughed quietly. You threatened me on my driveway. That camera is perfectly legal. Before he could respond, a black SUV pulled up. The same state attorney stepped out, this time with 2 officers. His bravado collapsed instantly. You've got to be kidding me, he muttered. She held up one of the fake letters. Mr. Daniels, you've committed mail fraud, forgery, and harassment. Do you understand how serious that is? He shrugged weakly. They were just warnings. She raised an eyebrow. You forged a government seal. That's a felony. I leaned against my Jeep, watching him squirm. You should have stopped when she got arrested, I said. Now you're both in it. He glared at me. You ruined my family. Oh, replied quietly. She ruined it when she forgot what real neighbors do: respect each other. The officers cuffed him. He didn't fight, just muttered, shaking his head. His daughter came running down the street and froze when she saw him being led away. The same patrol car her mother had been in the day before. Please, stop, she whispered. I stepped closer gently. You don't deserve this. You're nothing like them. The attorney knelt slightly. Do you have somewhere safe to go? My aunt's, she said quietly. Go there. The attorney nodded. We'll make sure you're protected. As the patrol car drove away, the girl looked back at me. Thank you, she whispered. The street went quiet again. 2 days. 2 arrests. By evening, the neighborhood felt different, lighter. No shouting, no fake notices, just crickets and rustling trees. I sat on my porch, coffee in hand, watching the sunset reflect off my Jeep. My phone buzzed. Both Daniels have confessed. Case closed. You did good. I set the phone down, breathing deeply. Then a soft knock on the fence. Karen's daughter stood there holding a small box. Mom asked me to give you this, she said. It's an apology. Inside was an extra key to my Jeep. On the tag, 3 shaky words. I was wrong. I nodded slowly. Tell her I accept, and that I hope she finds peace. She smiled through tears and walked away. I leaned back, staring up at the stars. I didn't fight for this country, I murmured, just to be told I can't park in my own driveway. And for the first time in a long while, I smiled, not because I won, but because the truth did.